Elon Musk enthusiasts will be rejoicing on knowing SpaceX's newest technological success, which is firing the first full-scale Raptor engine. Even though it's scary to witness a rocket liftoff in an explosive manner, combustion is essential to create a great force to keep the engine running. Engineers at SpaceX have improved their craft by discovering a method that will allow the Raptor engine work at full capacity without problems, even though it burns at a high temperature. And one thing that should tickle our interest is how SpaceX engineers cool down superheated stainless steel used to build the Raptor engine when it burns at high temperatures without melting. Stick around to discover the insane engineering miracle behind the cooling system of the SpaceX Raptor engine. Let's do some assessments. We already know that water boils to the stem at 100 degrees Celsius, which is hot enough to burn human skin, but human skin is completely burned and destroyed at 162 degrees Celsius. We cannot compare human skin to metals, but we need to include the human sense of touch to obtain a good understanding of rate temperature change, which occurs in rocket engines. However, this is not the case with the stainless steel utilized in the production of SpaceX Raptor engine. Stainless steel melts around 1530 degrees Celsius on average. However, when SpaceX tested the Raptor engine, the temperature was over 3200 degrees Celsius, more than double the melting point of the stainless steel metal used in the engine's construction. Coming back to the original topic, how does the engine not get red hot, melt, and finally blast off when heated to 3200 degrees Celsius? To explain this, we must first explore the Raptor engine's operating mechanisms and stages of operation. We'll begin with a basic physics lesson. Then we'll delve in and learn about a lot of nitty-gritty details, leaving no stone unturned, and at the end, we hope you'll have a solid understanding of how rocket engines work, the many varieties of liquid-fueled rocket engines, and why methane is a viable fuel source. Rockets are propellants with skin over them to keep them in place, and a mechanism on the rear that can discharge propellant quickly. To look at it another way, the faster the fuel is evacuated, the better. The simplest method is to store all of the fuel in extreme high pressure tanks, then install a valve at one end of the tank and a propelling nozzle that accelerates the fuel into usable thrust. There are no crazy pumps or intricate systems. Simply open a valve and let the fuel run out at high speed. A pressure-fed rocket engine is what this is called, and there are three types: cold gas, monoprop, and bipropellant pressure-fed engines. Because they are simple, dependable, and fast, they are frequently utilized in reactive control systems. However, there is one significant limitation to pressure-fed engines. Because pressure continuously flows from high to low, the engine can never be pressurized higher than the propellant tanks. The tanks must be robust to hold fuel at high pressure, which means thicker and heavier. Consider composite overwrapped pressure vessels, often known as COPVs. They can store gases at pressures of nearly 10,000 psi or 700 bar. Despite this, they can only hold a certain quantity of fuel and pressure. This does not scale well when attempting to deliver a payload to orbit. So smart rocket engineers immediately recognized that there was only one thing they could do to make the rocket as light as possible, and that solution is to raise the enthalpy. Let us now look at the cooling engineering phenomena used in rocket engines. The first topic is regenerative cooling, the most systematic approach to keeping a liquid-fueled rocket engine from melting. This approach involves passing part or all of the fuel through the combustion chamber walls and nozzle before entering the chamber via the injectors. While the walls and nozzle of rocket engines appear thin, there are tiny channels in the wall through which fuel may flow to keep them cool. The discovery of this technology was a great development, as it permitted rocket engines to run endlessly. Early regeneratively cooled engines included the main chamber and a liner on the engine's exterior through which coolant or fuel would flow. It was common to see pipes employed as the combustion chamber's walls. The RL-10 engine, which still employs brazed tube construction, is an example. Nowadays, a more usual approach is to carve a cooling channel in the nozzle's wall and then seal it with a copper or a nickel alloy, which serves as the chamber's inner wall. Because of their excellent thermal conductivity, copper and nickel alloys are utilized here to transmit heat from the wall into the coolant. This approach allows the fuel to boil before entering the chamber. This process may also be utilized to spin the turbine and power the engine's pumps, known as the expander cycle. The cycle uses the thermal expansion of the fuel as it transitions from liquid to gas and to power the pumps. The majority of engines utilize gasoline as a coolant, although an oxidizer is also an option. When cryogenic fuel is employed, the exterior of the rocket nozzle becomes extremely cold, while the wall's interior becomes extremely hot. One of the most difficult aspects of regenerative cooling is that the pressure within the walls must be greater than the pressure in the combustion chamber. This is because the walls are just tubes that feed the injectors, and because pressure always flows from high to low, the injectors require more pressure than the combustion chamber. It's simple to picture a leak happening with such high pressure inside little walls. Fortunately, because the pressure within the wall is higher than the chambers, a leak would simply give additional cooling owing to film cooling. Film cooling is the second kind of cooling employed in rocket systems. In this case, a fluid is injected between the combustion chamber and nozzle surface and the hot combustion gases. Because fluids are either gaseous or liquid, this may be accomplished using liquid or gaseous fuels. The goal is to build a barrier between the wall and the hot combustion gas, operating as thermal insulation with cooler fluid in between. The simplest technique to achieve liquid film cooling is to have a larger concentration of fuel or oxidizer injectors on the outside perimeter's injector face. Fuel is normally preferred because the primary combustion chamber is rich in fuel. There will be a ring of additional fuel flowing around the outside perimeter that will lack the necessary quantity of oxidizer to react with. This implies that a ring of fuel-rich combustion will be present to prevent heat from passing from the primary combustion gases to the walls. The bulk of the fuel adjacent to the wall will not react owing to a lack of sufficient oxidizer flows as a film along the chamber walls between the combustion gases and the chamber walls. However, it will most likely face transition from liquid to gas, forming a vapor boundary layer that will continue to absorb heat as changing phases absorb some heat. And finally, the last method of cooling is radiative cooling. When fueled, both SpaceX's vacuum Merlin engine and Rocket Lab's vacuum Rutherford engine flash bright red because the metals get extremely hot and releases the heat into space. Because space has no atmosphere, there is no air to pick up and transfer or convent heat away. Instead, engines may radiate heat away from their nozzles because radiation does not require matter to transmit heat, similar to how the sun conducts heat across space via radiation. The nozzle extensions of vacuum-optimized Merlin and Rutherford engines are constructed of very thin metal, generally an alloy such as niobium alloy that can endure severe heat loads. However, the disadvantage of these nozzle extensions is that they are very thin and rather weak. Furthermore, niobium is particularly reactive to oxygen, which implies that this engine can only run in a vacuum and is more complicated to manufacture. Is the Raptor engine the undisputed king of rocket engines? Rocket science, like everything else, is a complicated series of trade-offs. No, it is not the most efficient engine. No, that is not the most powerful engine, but it is the most affordable engine. Probably not. Maybe it's the most reusable engine, but does it truly do everything well? Yes, it is a Goldilocks engine capable of doing all of its duties admirably. It's ideal for our intergalactic starship. Despite its complexity, SpaceX is moving quickly to create this engine. Given how much work SpaceX has put into their Merlin engine over the last decade, the Raptor engine is still in its infancy. It will only get better from here on out, which is incredible. Overall, the Raptor engine is the undisputed king in its application. It's a terrific engine that will help SpaceX achieve its ambitions for its Starship. So, what are your thoughts? Is it worth going through several challenges to develop a strange and sophisticated Raptor engine? And talking about this, let's check how realistic is SpaceX's idea of catching the largest rocket ever built with chopsticks. Just click on this video.